All right, and we're live. I'm testing a new platform called Riverside. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. I can see myself here, but I'm looking at you guys right there, and I got a little microphone this time. Maybe the sound is going to sound nice and crisp. Anyways, I decided to just go ahead and start this because I was playing with this so much, and they have so many different options here. And I don't even know, like I can share my screen. Let's see. I can share my screen. This is cool. How's it going, everybody? I'm getting fancy at this. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how important it is to have an immersive experience as an actor and how important it is to be immersed in everything related to the industry and the craft. Okay. And then I guess there's a lot of things that come with that idea. And then as we progress in this beautiful episode of Actormented, we're going to talk about other different elements that are, directly connected with this idea. I want to start by showing you guys this video. All right, so let's hear what our friend Christian Bale has to say.
There's no point in doing something if you're not going to do it absolutely, and do it to the hilt. And so, yeah, there did come a point when I suddenly started to get more satisfaction out of it and realizing there was something that, even though I can't quite bring myself to say something of worth to it, that I can say something worth me doing it for. And if I'm going to do it, if I'm going to take the time to do it, then I want to do it in as much of an immersive way as possible.
All right, we're back here. You heard a guy. You heard Mr. Bale. I've contemplated on the idea whether acting was a worthy ideal for me or not, if it was something that had worth to it. And obviously I came to the conclusion that it does. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. Not to say that I'm a virtuous being, but I try to be careful with my choices, and I try to think about why I'm making those choices. But I can totally relate to what he's saying, whether it was something of worth. But then he went a little deeper. He said, well, whether, was something of worth or not, I decided to think about if it was worth me doing it. And obviously that, he decided to do it because we can see he turned into one of the best actors of modernity. And he's one of my favorite actors too. He decided to do it in the most immersive way possible. And I think that's for everything in life. If we're going to do something, let's do it to the hill, like he said. Let's do it. Let's do it in a way that we are actually extracting something from it. And in order to extract lessons from it and really grow as a person, I would say you have to do it in a very immersive way. Because if you're not immersed, you're not doing it repeatedly. If you're not doing repeatedly, it's not becoming easier and you're not becoming good at it. When you do something repeatedly, it becomes easier. When it becomes easier, it becomes a pleasure to do it. When it becomes a pleasure to do it, you do it more often. It becomes a circle. That's when a habit is born, basically. So I think immersion, repetition comes as an element of immersion, I would say. I guess the thing to contemplate on today is if you are going to act, really act, no part-time, no halfway. This craft exposes shortcuts, right? And if you're in pursuit of greatness and excellence, we already know that there are no shortcuts. You have to put in the work. If you do this, go all the way. It's like excellence or nothing. And it's not an obsession. You're not creating an obsession. It's like let's say it's a positive manifestation of that. I feel like obsession, there's a negative connotation to it. And the positive manifestation of that would be you're falling into alignment with the vision that you have, right? And then you're going to take the necessary steps to get there. And that's when you have to immerse yourself. And that brings us to the idea of creating habits. Now, you answer me one thing. Do you think you can immerse without habits? I don't think so. I think creating habits, positive habits, and necessary habits for us to become world-class actors will give us the confidence that we need. And not just the confidence, it will help us develop the tools that we need. And that's when we shift into craft, okay? I already mentioned repetition, showing up even when you're not inspired. What is that? That's discipline. I heard Mark Wahlberg saying today in an interview too. Mark Wahlberg said, discipline will buy you many wonderful things. You have to be disciplined, and you can understand the context of that. I'm not being materialistic. I'm not saying, be disciplined just to buy a big house or just to have multiple businesses. It's going to buy you freedom. It's going to buy you authority. It's going to buy you competence. And we need those things in order to be accepted in the industry, in order to work with great professionals, because that's what those people are. They are professionals. You want to work with a great director and be your lazy ass? No. If you want to work with Quentin Tarantino, you better know your shit. You better know what you're doing when you step on set. When you step on his set, you better know what you're doing. So repetition, showing up even when you're not inspired, discipline, training when no one is watching, letting the work shape you instead of waiting for that feeling that you're ready, Let the vision guide you and take the necessary steps to get there. I often talked about that. Have a process as an actor. You have to have a process. You have to have a plan. Oh, but I don't know where to start. I don't know, man. Find out. Do research. Talk to people. Network. Study the life of the greats out there, the greatest actors. Read their biography. Know their history. See how people got there. I saw this interview with Will Smith. He said, the secret to life is reading and running. Why? Because when you read, you find out about problems that other people have had in the past and wrote down in a book. So you're learning how to overcome issues and problems and obstacles by seeing other people's examples written in a book. So the more you read, the more you'll be able to learn about problem solving. And I thought that was fantastic. We can't rely only on our own life experience. There's a saying in Brazil that says, smart people learn from their own mistakes and wise people learn from everybody's mistakes. And that's basically the principle behind that idea. The more you read, the more you're going to be able to learn how to overcome obstacles, because it's impossible for you to have a problem that someone in the past did not have and didn't write down in a book how to overcome it. So that's a good principle. And he said running, because running gives you that physical discipline, like to keep going even when you don't want to, even when you feel like your lungs are going to explode. If you learn how to overcome that, and if you run, if you jog, I do jog. So this is physically true. When you're running, you get to a point where you think you can't go any further. And then all of a sudden, your body adapts to it. It's beautiful. And then it becomes easier to run. So it's a step by step, one step at a time. Everything makes sense now. We're connecting the dots, people. Yes. That's the discipline that's going to get you, first it's immersion and then discipline. And now you start seeing a pattern. Discipline, repetition, all those things, they go hand in hand. They exist parallel to each other. And they have to be connected somehow in your life. They have to be present somehow in your life. Today I did a virtual experience. It's like a meeting, an event. She calls it an event. I've done one, and actually I have to thank her because it was her event that got me inspired to start this vlog. Amy Jo Berman, she gave another one of those online events. It's free. Anybody can attend. And it was pretty good because she said many things, but one thing, and actually it was a question that I asked her during her Q&A after the whole event. And she actually answered my question, and her answer was perfect. It was very interesting. I asked her about confidence, because confidence, I'll give you a little, like a resumed version of what she talked about mainly today. She talked about the C3 method or something like that. It's the 3 C's that an actor needs to have in order to, become successful, let's say. Let's put it in a very simple way. The first C is confidence, second C is craft, and the third C is connections, not necessarily in this order. But those are the 3 C's. And when I saw that, I could really relate, because she gave many examples of people that she coached before that had a little too much of one of those elements and then lacked the other one, and vice versa. So she was saying your 3 C's need to be aligned. You have to balance those 3 C's, in order for you to have growth. And I could totally see myself in that situation, because I felt like I've always lacked confidence. And it was something that I've always struggled with. I'm a very self-conscious person, very self-conscious, and I live in my head. And that's a huge struggle for me. It's been my whole life. I've been very shy. I've been timid. I became more of an extrovert as I grew older and started taking theater classes, fell in love with acting, and decided to become an actor. So that kind of put me many times out of my comfort zone. I developed certain skills that allow me to let go of certain fears. Let's put it this way. I think that's a good way to put it. I became a more courageous person. So it's something I've always struggled with, that confidence. Because you see actors out there and it just seems effortless for them to just walk into a place and just be the center of attention. The way they walk, the way they talk, the way they move, everything about them just like, what's the word? It steams of pure confidence. And I've always envied that in a good way, because I wanted that for myself. And it was always so hard for me. In order to try to build that, I would try to fake it. I would try to signal confidence. And that is the worst thing that you can do for yourself, because people can smell your bullshit from 10 miles away. When you're signaling something, people can tell you're fake. And that's when people will tell that you are a little scared little pussycat. You're a scared little puppy lost in this world and you got no confidence. If you're trying to appear to be something, people are going to smell that right away. I asked her from a casting director's perspective, what are the elements and the characteristics that that you look for in an actor as far as confidence goes? Like what makes you see the person and say, oh, this guy's confident? And if she could point out some practical, concrete examples. And she said something very cool. She said that confidence is something that you cultivate. It's not something that you can signal. And it goes along with what I was saying before. If you're signaling something, it's fake. You have to walk the talk, not talk the talk, and then just not walk the talk. I don't know how that goes. It goes back to creating habits. And I already said that, but I think it was really great. I think it's a great lesson to understand that, because we live in this era where people are very shallow and fake. We live in the world of appearances. Everything's about the appearances. You want to be a cop, or you want to appear to be a cop. I love this line. It's from The Departed. Come on. The Departed, man. She felt funny. No ticky, no laundry. In this country, you don't add inches to your dick. I fucking love this movie. Anyways, where was I? Yeah, we live in a world that is in a place and time that it's just people are very concerned about the way they appear to be instead of the way they actually are. So this is something also to reflect. Do you want to be a good actor? Do you want to be confident? Or you want to appear to be a good actor? You want to appear to be confident. You can fake it to a point, to a certain level, but there's a ceiling to faking it, right? When you're confronted with a real situation that demands real skill, you're going to be unmasked really, really quickly, So I would say cultivating good habits, working on your craft, becoming better at this through repetition and discipline. When you start seeing results, I think that's the point that you start becoming more confident. I've felt that before. Like I do something diligently, every day I'm doing something, and I'm sticking to my promises, and I'm doing the things I told myself I was going to do. And then all of a sudden I start seeing improvement. Even like when I'm doing physical work, at the gym, when I'm working out, when you start seeing results, when you're looking in the mirror and say, holy shit, it's actually working. Look at this pump. Look at this, look at this abs. Look at this muscle. That will boost up your confidence. Because you're capable of accomplishing something, and you're learning as you're doing it, And I feel like it's the same thing with the craft of acting. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And then once you start becoming good, that'll give you confidence to say, hey, listen, I did it this way and it worked. And here is the proof. You have the receipts. You bring in the receipts. You're not just talking, you're showing. That's why seeing examples of great actors it's very beneficial. It's very helpful, because you're seeing the, empirically how it happened. It's impossible to see a Leo DiCaprio movie and not understand that this guy, even though he didn't have formal training, he did have tons of training, and he was very, very disciplined in honing his craft and becoming what he is today. It's impossible to see, a simple scene like this last one in One Battle After Another. He's like desperate after his daughter, and then he stops to talk to a couple of Mexican dudes, and he's like, oh, thank you. That was just like magic happening right there in front of our eyes. And it's impossible to see that kind of emotion in that scene and to say that he's just born this way, That's bullshit. It's BS, people. There's a lot of training, a lot of time involved for you to get to that level of acting. Immersion, discipline, craft, results, that builds confidence. And just like I said, confidence isn't announced. Confidence is something that it's felt. It's about how you choose to live when you decide something matters. Just like what Christian Bale said. He decided that was something that was worth him doing. It was worth him taking the time to do it. And once he decided that was it. He just jumped right in, And that's what we all should do as actors. And as responsible professionals, we have to be responsible about what we're putting out there. I don't want to be a shitty actor. I don't want to be an actor that portrays ham acting, I like that term, ham acting. It's like ham. It doesn't have any taste, It's It's a boring cold cut that you put in your sandwich when there's nothing else, you know, ham. That's it, guys. That's it for today. And please let me know in the comments if you like the episode, if you like the message, if you like the reflections, if you like the content. All right, guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Life!